Oh, hi there. Today I'm going to talk about anchoring, and I think it's a fairly minor bad habit that has been way blown out of proportion in terms of discussion time. I'm going to outline why I think it's a bad idea. I'm going to go over some special circumstances, and then I'm going to weigh up some arguments for it and against it. And then briefly I'm going to discuss how I think you should go from anchoring to unanchored playing. So first of all, the reason I think it's a bad idea is pretty simple. Going from kind of like the first principles of good technique are you don't want to waste any effort, and you don't want any sympathetic muscle tension. So first of all, basically my hand looks like this, and then when I have it down here completely relaxed, it looks like this. It doesn't look like that. It especially doesn't look like that. And then obviously to do that I need to extend fingers, and that's just bad. There's no reason you need to do that, and it's going to hurt your playing. I mean, that's as simple as I can make it there. The other thing is that people also actually press into the guitar as well. I know because I used to do it, and I'm going to discuss why that seems to come naturally and then why it's also a bad idea. But obviously if you're pressing into the guitar, that's wasted effort and you're tensing up your arm, and it's just not a good idea. I'd like to point out now, I do mean where you're pressing into the guitar and your fingers are fairly fixed. There's a number of people out there who have really big hands, and if their hands are loose and sitting here, if you can imagine my fingers were about 1.5 inches longer, they'd actually be brushing over the tip, over the body of the guitar, but they wouldn't be exerting pressure in. And I'm going to link a Guthrie Govan video where you can see this, where his pinky is on the body, but it's free to move. He's not pushing into the guitar. Okay, so one of the most common questions that people ask is, okay, well I see John Petrucci, Steve Morse, Yngwie Malmsteen, Michelangelo Badio doing this, and they all kick your ass at guitar, and that is absolutely true. They totally kick my ass at this. First of all, like I say, anchoring is a minor bad habit. It's not like your hand will explode if you anchor. But then I think, well, if I look at the best players, like the guys who I think are the absolute tip-top pickers in the entire world, guys like Sean Lane, Paul Gilbert, Borelli-Legrand, say his name terribly, but those guys don't anchor. And I was speaking to Andy James and Martin Goulding there recently, and they've both gone from an anchored picking style to an unanchored picking style over the last few years. And Andy was saying in particular, when it came to the big string skipping licks, he just didn't have the mobility to get around the guitar quickly enough. And that's one area where you especially see anchored players suffering their ability to jump large distances across strings. Okay, the next thing that people will say in favour of anchoring is it gives me stability. And this is kind of true, but it's stability because your hand is inflexible. It's not stability, it's not like you've got control of your pick and where it goes. And there's a big difference there. You want a flexible picking hand. You might want to jump from the high E string to the D string. You might want to hybrid pick, and I think by anchoring the hand to the guitar, you're creating a kind of false sense of control, and you're not really in control of the weight of your hand and arm, and specifically the feedback from the strings. I'm going to go into that at the end of the lesson. It's a kind of weird concept. Okay, the last thing is people will say, well, if you don't anchor to the guitar, how do you mute unwanted noise? And the simple fact is that's not really anything to do with being stuck to the guitar. You can actually cover every string and still move your hand freely around. The real issue there is a matter of pressure. You don't need any pressure at all to mute strings. You know, it's not like you're trying to stop ship's cables snapping or something. You know, you just lightly brush these things and they stop dead. It's not very difficult. So you don't need to actually press in any way at all to kill those strings. Now, if you have been convinced by me or by lots of other people out there that this is a bad habit, first thing I'd say is don't overreact. A lot of people go, oh my goodness, my whole picking style is garbage, I need to start from scratch, and that's massive overreaction. The only thing you need to do if you are currently pressing down really hard with 2 fingers is just don't. Stop pressing in, shake out your hand, relax it, find out where it wants to go by itself, and oh, okay, that'll do. You know, people will tend to do this and they'll try to avoid touching the guitar at all, and then they go, oh, my shoulder's very stiff now. Well, yeah, of course, that's because you're forcing yourself into an unnatural posture trying to avoid the whole guitar. It's just not going to happen like that. Okay, the last thing is that when you unanchor, you're going to start feeling the reaction from the string, which is kind of cool and weird if you've never felt it before. If you're anchored and you pick through a string, you just kind of push through. If you're unanchored, you tend to feel this other thing where as you're going through, the string will push back on the muscles of your arm. It's just Newtonian physics, you can't avoid it. If you want to feel this, what you do is you put the pick on the string and just push down gently, but don't go through the string yet. And you're going to feel the string pushes back on your arm and your muscles have to take up that tension and push against it. And then when you go through the string, it's really important then that you relax after that. You don't want to just hold up all that tension. Again, that's a kind of false stability there, where people are confusing just making themselves really inflexible with having control and relaxation. That's about everything. Cool.